Tattooists of Reddit, have you ever messed up a tattoo on someone, and what was the fallout? Friend of mine worked at a tattoo shop as a piercer, but got lots of ink. Obviously, he had work done by a dude that would later deface an Anne Frank memorial because he was so classy. Needless to say, the work my friend received wasn't what he bargained for. It covered his entire leg. Kind of a bio-match thing that was popular at the time. Hours and hours and hours of work, and it looked great when finished. Months go by and finally someone noticed. We all started to notice rather phallic looking items sprinkled throughout the entire piece. After the first one was spotted and commented on, dozens soon followed. Turns out this douche was integrating disguised cocks onto my friend's leg at every possible opportunity and seeing how far he could go. Apparently all the way to the end. Friend and I no longer speak, so I don't know what / if anything ever came of it. Funny story regardless. P.S. The douche would later go to jail for the Anne Frank memorial vandalism. Out of every tattooist mentioned in this thread, I think this one is the worst. Because you need to put real effort into being this shitty. A real knob. Not me, but a friend. He bought a kit from somewhere and tattooed random people and licensed. What people didn't know was that he was terrible at art and horrible at basic spelling. So many people took him to small claims to get money back. My favorite, he tried spelling believe, resulted in believe. Just how Cha sang it. He must have been a fan. Do you believe in life after love? I knew a girl who had a tattoo of boxing gloves that said roll with the punches, obviously supposed to be punches. I pointed it out to her and she didn't care at all. Apparently she really was good at rolling with the punches. And no, I'm not kidding. I'm now considering a tattoo of boxing gloves and a minor app that says rolling with the punches. I once had a woman come in when I worked at a walk-in shop. She had her whole family with her. She was getting her first tattoo at 70 plus, can't remember exact age. She was getting something that included the birth-death dates of her recently deceased husband. Her whole family saw the design. They were really excited. Let me repeat. The whole family saw the design. So I do the tattoo. The woman loves it. And then her daughter sneaks back over while I'm tearing down. She whispers to me that her mother had gotten the dates wrong. I felt so bad. They even knew she had dementia problems apparently, and no one looked at it closely enough to see if she had gotten the dates correct. Unfortunately, it wasn't dates that could easily be changed to another number. I told them I could cover it after she healed, but I never saw them again. / If they were the dates she selected, those are the ones she considers correct. Mima has dementia. You can't argue with that shit. Yeah, she was very adamant about them being correct despite what her daughters tried to say. They went back and forth in our lobby for quite some time. I hope she's happy with it. She was very sweet. Not a tattooer, but I have a bunch. I recently got a sundial on my arm. Before the artist started, she asked me if the sketch was okay. When I approved, she said there are 2 6s at the bottom. That's what you want, right? And so I double checked and, sure enough, sundials have 2 6s at the bottom. Nobody else has noticed. I doubt I would have noticed if she hadn't pointed it out. It's a green flag for an artist, for sure. Do you know why they have 2 6s? Because it only gives you time relative to the sun. It ends at 6 PM and starts at 6 AM. Had a close friend getting his first tattoo. Kind of an uptight guy. Our mutual bud is an illustrator, and he calls him over and explains that his appointment for the tattoo is in 30 minutes, and he asks that our bud write, in calligraphy, the word home to be copied by the tattoo artist. Although hurried, our bud reluctantly does so. Friend goes to the tattoo parlor, and I see him late that night. He proudly pulls down his shirt to show me the word home written big on his chest in calligraphy. But here's the thing, in cursive. Unless you're really careful, and he is almost indistinguishable from an O. So I'm looking at my uptight friend, and he has in big floral writing the word homo tattooed on his chest. I swore in that moment that I would never mention it to him. Maybe that's wrong, but I'll bet I'm not the only of his friends who've noticed it. Is he at least gay? He was until he added the no tattoo. I got a tattoo apprenticeship as a teenager and a few of my friends got small tattoos by me. One night, very high, directly after my sweet 16, I was still in my dress. I was tattooing a friend of mine who wanted eventually everything will end written up her ribcage. Halfway through the eventually we realize I've gone slightly off transfer and the whole thing is crooked. I'm mortified. My blood ran cold. I imagined she'd hate me forever. Her boyfriend at the time just said just add a ... and make it mysterious. Like eventually, like you're trailing off, she looks at me and says dot 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 me up, and I do. She loved that tattoo. Even got it inscribed on a Zippo. Shortly after my 22nd birthday she committed suicide. As a tribute, several of her friends got the word eventually tattooed in her honor. As if to say eventually we may see each other again. My worst fuck up. One of my best memories. Miss you, Kate. If you ever feel like ending it all, please reach out to someone. Depression is a liar, and you will be missed more than you understand. First Reddit comment to make me feel an emotion. There was a guy I worked with that wanted badass written on his arm in cursive. He went to a new shop that just opened up. It looked like it said Beepus. When that male bee gets called up to mate with the queen, gonna get him some of that sweet Beepus. Yeah, like jazz. Not an artist, but have to experiences of this. 1. An almost moment in my first tattoo. Told the guy I wanted a quote from LOTR. From Aragorn's prophecy, not all those who wander are lost. When he showed me the sketch it said wander not wander. It's an easy / common mistake to make, but it completely changes the meaning and is a misquote. Luckily I caught it and decided to lose the wording in any event. 2. I had the tattoo, a bird, done in 2 sessions. First session we did the line work and discuss color. I said I wanted it as colorful as possible. As we'd already discussed it, I thought it was covered. Second session about 3/4 weeks later, he starts on the tattoo, and he gets out mostly brown and gray inks. I didn't realize, until it was too late, that those weren't just colors for the more shadowy parts. That was the whole tattoo. Tried to convince myself that I liked it. But after 3 or 4 years I've now accepted that I don't like the colors or really the design itself, and I've had it lasered, so it can be covered up by another artist. Should have just rolled with the punches. Believi. Homo. Fucked up some biometch on a guy's fucking hand about 15 years ago. Still haunts me. How was it messed up? My dad once brought a tattoo gun from a weird website. Once he got it, he wanted to see if it worked by drawing a small line in his palm. Oh, it worked. But now he has a permanent small line on his palm. He never touched that gun ever again. The fuck did he think would happen? I'm not an artist, but I worked with a guy that had solid got tattooed on him. He didn't realize it until I pointed it out. I felt bad saying something. I don't even know how long he had it. It wasn't fresh. It took me a second to catch the spelling error, lol. I was the client. I had my grandmother, who is a professional painter, draw me a tree. She hid my name in the leaves and put butterflies and apples with it. So I take this drawing to a reputable tattoo artist and ask him to copy it to my skin. He says okay. He finished it, and it was a long ordeal, and I was not thinking clearly from the pain afterwards. I get home and realize he had fucked it up. One of the butterflies was the wrong color. He had neglected to put the leaves that spell my name, and one of the apples was not colored in. But the actual quality of the work was very good. It looked really nice, it just wasn't as my grandmother had drawn it. I called him and set up an appointment to fix it. He was very cool about it. Glad to hear he was decent about it. Did it end up looking like you'd hoped? My appointment to get it fixed is in a few days. I think he isn't making me pay, but I'll tip him. BC, he was cool about it and all around very professional. When you're staring at something for hours on end, it's really easy to miss small details like that. I trust it will go well, and here's why. I live in a very small town in a rural area. This is the only non-shitty tattoo parlor for miles around. This guy is very concerned with his reputation. If his reputation gets damaged, he loses business. His reputation is the foundation of what he does. He wants me to recommend him to people. Pics. Don't know the artist. My high school friend is a pretty intense drinker. When we ever drank together, he'd usually get pretty blackout and end up in bad situations. After a few years living away for university, I returned to my hometown and saw him at a mutual friend's party. He showed me his new tattoo on his knee. It looked like amorphous blob, vaguely a triangle. It was a dark red color with different discolorations. Looked like he was bleeding beneath his skin. He explained how one night he got drunk and met some weird dudes at a bar. They apparently told him they had just gotten out of prison and were getting fucked up to celebrate. By the end of the night, my high school friend is in their apartment and they are using a portable tattoo gun on each other in between lines of coke. My friend asked for a pizza slice, which swiftly got infected. He neglected to get any treatment and told me he popped blobs that formed on it. Now he's left with a red splotch that can be seen with shorts on. He told me he thinks it's funny and has zero plans on altering it. Returning to your hometown is jarring. Not a tattoo artist, but the person getting tattooed. I got the Bible verse though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, blah blah. Accidentally wrote through as though. My mom pointed it out to me. Him and I went to the laser tattoo place. Would have been really expensive. He fixed it by covering it up with white ink and rewriting it. Looks fine. Can imagine the worst thing is, when tattooists know it's wrong, misspelled or something, and a client insists it's right. My wife's an angle goddammit, now write that on her inner thigh. My wife's an angle goddammit. Looks to me like she's the whole pie. C plus MYSELF equals OUT. Is she acutely? I had gone into a shop with the plan of getting this rather detailed military tattoo. The artist and I had discussed it and bounced idea off each other for a corporal weeks. When we settled on a design I came in for the mock-up, and as we were going over placement he kind of stops and tells me, "Brother, I love this tat, and I would love to be the one to do it, but I don't think I can." Somewhat confused BC he had drawn it, he explained that he felt to get it right it needed someone with more experience. After discussing it, I was honestly happy to get to work with someone who would rather recommend someone else than to risk not being able to meet the mark he set for himself. He drew up a different image that he was more comfortable doing, and we tabled the other for a later date. Personally, I'd rather wait until he's ready than to take it to someone else. I'm not a tattooist, but the customer. I watched my boyfriend get a tattoo from the artist his entire family uses. I really liked the vibe of the guy, thought he seemed nice, and decided that was the man I wanted to give me my tattoo. I discussed a little bit about what I wanted with him then, to see if he'd be up for it, and he was. 7 months later I go in to get my small, fully black velociraptor on my sternum. The man immediately starts telling me it's too small, it'll look very poor, etc. I believe him, and agree to do something larger. Long story short, turns out the man was taking advantage of me because I had just turned 18 and was a pushover. He stated that he wanted to charge well over $300 when the original tattoo was supposed to be under $100. I tried to email him multiple times, the email that was on his business card, and got no response. When I arrived for my appointment and expressed I didn't want the original tattoo, he made me feel as though I inconvenienced him. I didn't get the original one I wanted, and while he was doing what I somewhat wanted, he kept telling me everyone's gonna tell you this is a mistake, and you should've gotten what I wanted to give you. This looks awful in comparison to what I originally wanted, etc. I wanted another tattoo with a more sentimental meaning. He kept telling me you'd be stupid not to just hurry up and get it, because it'll be cheaper now, etc. So I got my other one, supposed to be gloves. Looked like boxing gloves / mittens instead. Awful experience. I truly trusted him, because I figured this guy has experience. He knows what's best, and he told me other tattoo artists would do it, knowing it'd end up bad. Just to get my money. I hate this man and I'm counting down the days until I can afford to get them removed. Instead of the nice messages I wanted to remind myself of, I just think of a mean man that took advantage of me every time I see them. This man also kept asking about my political beliefs and insulting them. The man has since switched parlors. My brother cancelled his tattoo session with this guy after I told him how insulting and condescending he was. I feel for you. My first tattoo was a shitty experience too. I wanted a specific tattoo, but they said that it wouldn't come through very well, and worried that it was somewhat satanic. It was a demon, so they talked me out of it. Instead I went for a basic tribal Ouroboros. I was impulsive. Anyway, when finished one of the other artists looked it up and down and said meh, I don't like it, and walked away. So that was a great start. I'm going to get it worked on to flesh out the idea, as the Ouroboros was something I did want, just not exactly like that. But man, it sucks that the first comment about your tattoo is from an artist in the same shop saying it sucks. Basically, some shops just blow. I don't go out of my way to tear them down, but I'll never recommend them to anyone ever. I feel you. I'm so sorry that happened. I wish you the best of luck with getting your current tattoo restored. I tattoo with my best friend. They wanted a tribute for their dog that passed, and I had sketched a couple of designs up in my spare time. One night we were bored and decided to take their favorite sketch and slap it on them. It was supposed to read Little Janes with a little cartoon version of their dog beneath. But the sketch read Lit Janes and we both failed to notice, because the font was so stylized. Neither of us realized it was misspelled for 3 months. We are still best friends, and love telling the story. They owe me a misspelled tattoo now, and I honestly cannot wait. Not the artist, and the oops. Got some lyrics tattooed on me, but your became your. I suspect he was aiming to go over the O, but did the U instead. Result was crying me. guilt from him, and almost 3.5 years of free laser removal to fix. I have gotten tattoos from him after that, but have since moved. 3.5 years. Free. Got a tattoo of an alt lifestyle logo. Artist fucked up part of it. It was on my neck, so I didn't see until after. I had a reference picture too. I refused to pay. Dudes blocked the door, so I couldn't leave. Hollywood tattoo Hollywood CA in 2000. Still revenge angry when I think about it. At least my hair covers it. Why on earth would you not check a neck tattoo stencil? This is what confuses me. A lot of people are talking about how they didn't realize until it was too late. But that's what the stencil is for. My artist always shows me the drawing of what she came up with to make sure it's what I want. Then she places the stencil on my body to make sure placement and size is appropriate. She looks at it to make sure it looks right to her. And then she has me look in a mirror. This is all done before any actual tattooing even begins. I went through the aforementioned process and still ended up with a Down syndrome tiger with a club foot. I have a large pistol tattooed prominently on my forearm. It has a scroll wrapping around it that says hot as a pistol, but cool inside. It's a lyric from a Grateful Dead song. Deadhead here. When the artist was finished, he wiped the tattoo down and said, "Go take a look." I immediately noticed that he didn't put the top perpendicular line on the T in pistol, so it effectively said, "hot as a pistol." Thankfully I noticed, and it took 30 seconds to fix. He was super embarrassed, but he's a badass artist, and has tattooed me twice since. Hey, can I buy that pissy all over there? Not a tattooer, but I just think it's funny how there's that trope of the tattooer's hand slipping and making a scribble line. The reality is that, if your hand slips you'd A. Lift your hand up, B. Are most likely not going to put the ink deep enough to make a permanent mark. So as you heal the ink will just fall out. I speak from experience. No regrets. Still have no regrets about it. Regrets. Regrets. A guy once asked for a photo of his recently deceased wife. I took the photo and made the tattoo of a roga banging her on the back of a unicorn. He got really mad, but I pointed out he didn't use the serious tag. So of course all he was going to get was trolling. Damn, I thought that was true for a second. I was the client. Now I'm getting laser on big parts of it lol. Going to keep something and work around it. What was the tattoo of, and how was it messed up, if you don't mind me asking? Avenged sevenfold logo with forever over it. Text in my collarbones and logo on my chest. The text and a few details around it is good, but the logo is crooked as shit. Tilted like 45-degree mayo, and some other stuff he did that ruined it. Gonna keep the text and some details, and laser most of it. Then add some more details, and keep it minimalistic. I like the idea, man. Jimmy was one of a kind. Hope it turns out well for you. I've seen several tattoo artists fuck up bad, and they would never admit it in a million years. Not the tattooist. I was the client. I got my first tattoo as a walk-in, and wanted a simple 2-inch line armbands, and wanted one of the lines not filled in. The guy hasn't tattooed armbands before. He used tape to outline my armband. He messed up on some places, and had to red row them. I have keloid scars on the tattoo, and I'm hoping to get it covered eventually. Sorry, your tattoo is messed up. Although in appearance bangs around an arm look back simple, they can actually be quite technical and difficult. If you truly have keloid scars, I would recommend talking to a doctor before getting the tattoo covered, or a work does that could make the scarring worse. Whereas if you have just a bad scar, it can be worked over without issue most likely. A client once asked me to write the word fast on his arm. I accidentally wrote fat. He called the cops on me. I ran out of the building, hitchhiked and traveled to another state. Ever since that day I've been spending life as a homeless person. But was he fat? IDK, how about I accidentally reversed it? So you no money for me. Did he ask for a 13, and you drew a 31?